Simply because you have something does not mean that you will keep it. And this is another error that many black people make. They think now because they got good jobs, or you think now because you may be living better, that the world, that this is going to continue. There's no universal law written in stone that because you're living well today, you're going to live better tomorrow. I frequently criticize this myth in America, this myth that we call the myth of progress, or the idea of progress. That is that things get better with time, so that even if they're not the way we want them today, they will be better tomorrow. Who told you that lie? They could be worse tomorrow. People don't only progress in history, they regress in history. Empires not only are built and grow up in histories, empires do what? Fall and collapse in histories. You must understand that. So simply because you may have a higher level of opportunity today, simply because you may have a higher income today, in no way guarantees greater opportunity tomorrow or higher income tomorrow. So there are those who will look at this so-called progress that African Americans have achieved today and will assume then that this expansion will continue in the future. And yet a reading of our own history would demonstrate that that is not the case. This is not the first time black people voted. This is not the first time black people have gone to so-called integrated school. This is not the first time in the history of African Americans that you had black mayors, that you've had black people sitting in the Congress of the United States, that you've had black people sitting in the Senate of the United States, that you've had black people head of corporations, living in white neighborhoods. You know the time that this occurred in this country? This same type of lifestyle occurred in the United States over 100 years ago in the 1870s. Back in the 1870s, black people were expecting to have a black president, a vice president elected anytime. You had black people in the 1870s proclaiming that the era of racism was over, that people would no longer be judged based on their race or background in the 1870s. But do you know what happened in the 1870s? Blacks were disenfranchised. The votes were taken away. Black people were thrown physically out of state legislatures. Black people were terrorized from the voting polls and were not allowed to vote. Black people who had been buried in graveyards beside white folk, they had their bodies dug up and shipped somewhere else. In other words, you see, because you are integrated doesn't mean you cannot become disintegrated. And it took then 100 years, up to the 1960s and 70s, for black people to re-achieve again the things they had 100 years before. So there is no guarantee that because you have some kind of opportunities today, or because you're making some kind of progress today, that that progress is guaranteed to you. Why were black people rejected and why were they disenfranchised? Because a group of white folk thought that it was in their interest that they be disenfranchised. And we are in exactly the same position today when there is a group of white folk in America today who come to believe seriously that it is in their interest to remove opportunities from black folk and to disenfranchise us, then it will happen.